This is the Effing One Podcast, Australia's only Formula One podcast with Adam and Luke.
G'day and welcome to the Effing One Podcast. This podcast is a proud podcast. It's a proud Australian podcast. This is an Aussie Battler podcast, and we've got some new collaborations and endorsements. That's right. This mildly traumatizing semi-erect podcast has some very special announcements. Now get comfortable, take your pants down towards your ankles, get some spit on the hands, throw them down to your junk, and shut the hell up! Because we have some very high up and important people. One endorsement said, I would take a bullet for the Effing One podcast. That's right, Bernie Ecclestone. Two other people said this podcast needs more N-words. And that's Nelson Piquet and Juri Vips. So these are all the great endorsements and collaborations we will be having with these terrible trio that they just embody the podcast. Sure, they may say things that are a little off colour. Sure, Bernie Ecclestone says that he would stand in the way of a bullet between himself and not only the podcast of Effing One, but also Vladimir Putin. And just a word of the wise, Vlad, I wouldn't be putting old frail man Bernie Ecclestone in front of a bullet, because it'd be like a Japanese paper wall in front of you. It would just slice straight through him and you just wouldn't see it coming. So don't do any favours, Bernie, because all you're doing is just slowing down a bullet in a millisecond. Nothing. It's going to go straight through you, champ. You're not going to do anything. There will be no valour in what you do for this podcast or for Vladimir Putin. Now, our friends, Nelson Piquet, not Junior, not the one that faked a crash to give Fernando Alonso a win. We're talking about Senior, the three-time Formula One world champion, Nelson Piquet, called Lewis the N-word. Now, not only did he say it, but so did Juri Vips on a live stream while playing a game. I don't know what game he was playing. I don't think it was cotton picking with Juri Vips. And he was the master yelling out to his slaves. No! And it's not the first time Yuri's brought out the N-word. He's done it beforehand. So just, Red Bull's dropped him, rightly so. And it'll be interesting to know what the FIA and Formula One are going to do about Nelson Piquet Jr., the three-time world champion. He said there was no bad demeanour. There was no demonstrative talk about Lewis Hamilton. He's a great driver, a great man, a great this, a great that. But he still said what he said. Will F1 and the FIA ban him from future events, attending future events? You know, he is the granddad of Max Verstappen, and going by Juri Vips is a Dutch driver, and Nelson Piquet is Max Verstappen's partner's granddad. The Dutch and the Nelson Piquet combination. I'm just waiting for Max Verstappen to drop the N-word any day now. Because it will happen. And you'll hear it here first when we get to interview him. So, anyway, enough N-words from me. Handjobs for the homeless. Now, this is, it's our flagship. It's the only thing, the only reason this podcast still exists is to spread the idea and to spread the word of handjobs for the homeless. And we have 3 new ambassadors, and I think you know who I'm talking about. That's right. We're talking about Bernie, we're talking about Juri, and we're talking about Nelson Piquet. They're going to be going down to every homeless shelter that's in their local area, and they'll be giving some hand relief, but it'll only be to people who are not white. So if you're down on your luck, even if you're not homeless, go down there. Get one of these fellas to dust you off, to polish your pole, to do whatever you need to do to get the job done. And if you happen to see Juri Nelson or Bernie walking on the streets. Just come on them anyway. Who cares? And if they ask, why did you do that? Just say Luke from Everyone Podcast sent ya. How was the Canadian Grand Prix for you? For me, it was a very, very early start to my day. It actually interrupted my sleep. I got up and I watched it and I went back to bed. I slept quite well afterwards because it wasn't quite a riveting Grand Prix. It wasn't interesting, so I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. But Yuki Tsunoda did a fantastic job coming out of the pit lane and thinking that he had the same grip on brand new cool tyres offline coming from the pit exit. It's not the apex, it's not the normal racing line, so not many cars go over that over and over again. There's no grip out there, and with Saturday morning washing, or Saturday, the rain and everything that happened on Saturday just washed the circuit clean of any rubber that was on there. He thought he could take that corner at the normal speed that he does. And he went straight into the... he wasn't even close. He crashed that badly. So, Yuki Tsunoda head first into the wall. Another disappointing effort from Yuki. Does he deserve his spot in Formula 1? Of course not. Should someone like Oscar Piastri be in that seat? Of course. There's a few drivers that Oscar could replace quite easily. But there wasn't much else going on the Canadian Grand Prix. There was a safety car. There was some virtual safety cars with Mick Schumacher having to wheel that out of the way. Sergio Perez having to wheel that out of the way. Some people got some early pit stops. Some people pit a little bit later. Really didn't affect the race too much. Ocon made hay while the sunshine, got a little bit up in his positions. But not too much else went on. Nothing really of note to bring home. Besides Nicholas Latifi causing severe bodily harm and death to a groundhog. Now, you'd think a Canadian would be a little bit... And the pace and the speed that man drives, you'd think he has time to react to a groundhog. But he didn't. He didn't do that at all. He hit and killed another Canadian. A fellow Canadian. A groundhog. And you can't throw money to that groundhog's family. No. You can't do that. That's not going to help anyone. So rest in peace, the little groundhog that got murdered. Murdered. Slain before his years. The unfortunate groundhog racing against... Actually, I think it was actually overtaking Nicholas Latifi. That's how slow he was. Now, we've come up with an idea to make Formula 1 great again. Now, my previous one was no tyre warmers, which Yuki Tsunoda has proved it would be quite difficult. He had warm tyres. Imagine if they were cold, dead cold. Gives the best drivers in Formula 1, give strategies a different way because they're going to come out of pit lane with cold tyres. They can't just battle with someone straight away. They won't have the grip. That would make it more interesting. And I think that's what we need to do. This idea, it's a genius idea, of course. It came from me. An idea to make Formula 1 great again, because that's what we do in this podcast. Try to make Formula 1 great again. Now, we're going to reverse the track layout. We're going to have 2 Grand Prix every weekend. A Saturday race and a Sunday race. Now, you can change the car between races. You can have a qualifying on Saturday and you'll have a qualifying on Sunday. None of this, the race sets the pole for the next. No. You qualify on Saturday morning. You qualify on Sunday morning for your respective races. The first race will be around the different way. Practice 1 on Friday, you're going the wrong way around the track. Second practice, you're going around the other way. Is it going to be dangerous? Yes. Is that my problem? No. Why is it my problem? I don't care. It's just my idea. I haven't thought it through. But all tracks are going to be dangerous going the other way around. The circuits are designed to go one way. So all the runoffs, all the barriers, all the safety barriers, all that shit is all there to race around one way. Now, Monaco doesn't matter. The walls are there. Done. Drive them around the other way. Doesn't matter. So, if you can drive Monaco, which is the walls are closest everywhere, you can drive every other track the same way. So, I recommend we do it that way. Have Formula 1 a reverse layout race on a Saturday, so we'll have probably 44 races a year. Take that, NASCAR. And then you've got the Sunday race, the traditional race, traditional qualifying, have it on a Sunday morning, traditional get them out there race. Let them change the car. If they need to change the car, as long as it's within the rules, change the car. If it didn't really work that way, it might work this way. Excellent. Keep the teams guessing. Keep us guessing. Keep them guessing. The more practice and more time we get these people to drive around circuits, make them go the other way. And if it's dangerous, then lift. You have the throttle pedal under your foot. You have the brake pedal. You've got the steering wheel. You can control how fast you go around that corner. And if you crash, whose fault is that? Yours. That's right. So if you are at any point racing any race and you're feeling a little bit unsafe, lift or pull off and go somewhere else. Maybe go into the hand jobs for the homeless and pull off someone else. It's not about bringing danger or risk. It's about changing things. Changing a layout. Changing a way that people go around a track to make these guys earn their millions of dollars. So, anyway, first was Max Verstappen. He won the race in Canada. Second was Carlos Sainz. Third was Lewis Hamilton, his first time, I believe, on the podium this year. Maybe. But Lewis finally got up there, finally beat his teammate, which was good for him, not for anyone else. But yeah, it's I am looking forward to the weekend's Grand Prix at Silverstone, the British Grand Prix. But let's go through the field of the Canadian Grand Prix, see how they all did. So Verstappen won the race. His teammate was the first to retire. So first and 20th for Red Bull, 25 points for Max Verstappen. He got pole position. As we said before, Sergio Perez did crash in qualifying. Carlos Sainz finished second. He qualified third behind Fernando Alonso. Great job by Alonso. I think in practice 3, the Alonso and Sebastian Vettel were in the top 3. And it was good to see those names up there. It's good that Aston Martin had a bit of pace in the wet. But come qualifying, the two Aston Martins did struggle. Sebastian Vettel was like a different car. It felt like something was broken in the left rear. And he didn't have the confidence that he needed in the rain. So he was very disappointed. I was disappointed. Lance Stroll wasn't, because he was happy to be closer to him. So Sainz, he qualified third, finished second. Poor old Leclerc, he had some engine components and things. He had some penalties, so he started towards the back. I think he qualified 15th just to have a bit of a laugh. But yeah, he started dead last. He did get driver of the day though, voted by you. You guys didn't vote Lewis Hamilton this time, even though he finally beat his teammate. I think there was a little bit of a... You didn't give it to him. I don't know why. You gave it to Charles. Anyway, the chosen one, Charles Leclerc, got driver of the day. Russell outqualified by his teammate Hamilton qualified in 4th, I think it was. Yes, qualified 4th. Russell was 8th. Russell decided to go with some dry tyres towards the end of Q3 to see if he could sort of whack out a pole position. Unfortunately, made a bit of a mistake. Got the wet stuff on the dry tyres, and he kind of spun off. Didn't make hay while the sun was trying to shine in Canada. Other teams, Magnussen, Mick Schumacher, 5th and 6th in qualifying. Great job from them in qualifying. Unfortunately, you get fuck all points in qualifying. And the second to retire was Mick Schumacher, and his teammate Magnussen was 17th. And they get a lot of points towards the championship for Haas and themselves. Ocon was quite a bit away from Fernando Alonso. Ocon's generally quite good in the rain, but when he's against Alonso, it's a whole different thing. Alonso was a couple of seconds, like 1.5 seconds quicker than Ocon in the rain, but Ocon did get him in the race. Ocon got some handy time to pit under the virtual safety car. So congratulations to Ocon. Good job from him. Finished 6th with 8 points. Alonso finished 9th with 2 points. A solid job by them. Alpha Tauris, man, they are shit, aren't they? Gasly was 16th in qualifying, and Tsunoda was dead last. I don't know how you get dead last behind Latifi. Sweary Tsunoda, you need to figure shit out, son. He was, Tsunoda retired, and Gasly finished 14th ahead of Norris. Norris couldn't get past him. Gasly is a very shrewd operator when it comes to blocking and defending his position. What else we got? The McLaren boys. Daniel Ricciardo qualified 19th ahead of his teammate. He just snuck through by the hair of his chinny chin to get into Q3. But a solid job from him. Norris didn't finish Q2. He didn't need to. I think he had a bit of an issue. So he didn't get to show his full potential. And his race, really, he went from 14th in qualifying to 15th in the race. Went backwards. Daniel Ricciardo also went backwards a couple of spots. The McLaren really just didn't have the pace for that circuit of de Gilles Villeneuve in Canada, in Montreal. Vettel, Stroll, 17th, 18th in qualifying after a strong practice 3. Unfortunately for him, Stroll finished 10th. Sebastian Vettel finished 12th, so Stroll gets a point in his home race in Canada. The only Canadian who can fucking do anything in this. He's probably the only decent Canadian since Jacques Villeneuve. And yeah, if Jacques wasn't in Williams, I wonder how well he would have gone in any other team, because he got lucky having that Williams drive, and then he went backwards when he chased the coin. I think it was more of a lesser chase. Like, he was paid very well at BAR Honda, but also I think he kind of gave like yep, I'm going to do this. If you guys do it, I'll go with you, which is very loyal, but fucking dumb. Maybe he's just like, you know what, I'm done. I just want to make some money and go home. But yeah, so unfortunate for him. Verstappen led the race. There was a late safety car. Kind of bunched the field back up. Sainz didn't really get close. There was some moments like maybe he could. He didn't. Sainz got the fastest up with a 1 minute 15.749. The Williams got the fastest pit stop. They haven't done that for a hot minute. I think this is their second time this year they've got the fastest pit stop. They used to be the fastest pit stop every single week. A few years ago, that was their only saving grace. So I don't know what they've done with it now. But the Williams, 2.38 second pit stop. Congratulations to them. The awards, let's give them out. The F1 Podcast Awards. The Green Award goes to Red Bull Racing for making unreliable machinery and keeping Perez at a distance from Mad Max's second championship. Now, there was a bit of a purple patch by Perez. Did a solid job in Monaco, and then the race after in Azerbaijan. Did a fucking fantastic job, but he was getting a little bit too close. So Perez screwed himself in qualifying, but then they give him another unreliable car, and Max just takes another big chunk away from everyone in the points. The Likkonen Sended Award for the best overtaking manoeuvre, and it's going to Alexander Albon on Pierre Gasly. Now, there was a little battle happening just ahead of these boys at that time. Alexander Albon was like fourth in this train of drivers, and he made it stick past Gasman. Gasman thought he was kind of making a move around the outside. I think it was Magnussen, Stroll. They had a really good battle going into turn 1, 2, and then Magnussen kind of ran wide at turn 2. Stroll got underneath him, and Gasly's tried to go around the outside as well, thinking it's Stroll. We can both go around the outside. There's no grip out there, and then Albon just kind of lined it up and just sent it between them, and it was a very good job by Alexander Albon. I liked it. There was a couple good late braking manoeuvres down into the hairpin. George Russell and someone overtook Mick Schumacher. I think it was one of the Alpines. I think it might have been Ocon. Very good overtaking manoeuvres, nice late braking. Wasn't expecting it, but just for that sheer, just the opportunistic bit of Alexander Albon. He's always on. He's always good, Alexander Albon. The Pastor Maldonado Award for dangerous driving, I give it to Sweary Tsunoda, because he's leaving pit lane with his new tyres on an offline green pit lane exit, and he thinks it's got the same amount of grip as the Apex, and that is what we call true fuckwittery, and also gets you the Pastor Maldonado Award. Congratulations, Pastor. The Effing Odd Podcast Award for making Formula 1 great again. We're giving it to the late, great Groundhog. That's right, the Groundhog that paid the ultimate price and put his body on the line to bring Nicholas Latifi down. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. He was a suicide groundhog, and unfortunately didn't take not to try and take him out and just, to murder Nicholas Latifi. Just take him out of the race. Just take him out of the session. Not to, he was suicidal because he's a tiny little thing. He wasn't trying to kill. He just I'm sick of this, and I just want to take Nicholas Latifi out of the race, not out of existence. Let's just be clear. Didn't want him. He just wanted to end the race for him there, not end the race of life, as some crazy people tried to do with Nicholas Latifi after his crash in Abu Dhabi last year. I think that Groundhog was a bit of a Lewis Hamilton fan. He was brown-faced. Yuji Ide, for wasting everyone's time. And we're giving it to Sergio Perez because you a poor qualifying and you're out early. You're just wasting your time. You're wasting my time. You're wasting everyone else's time. So just park it and get over it. Park it, Perez. And the last award, a great award in Effing One Podcast. Everyone loves it. If anyone doesn't love it, well, listen to this. That's right, it's the Your Shit Award. And this week, the Canadian Grand Prix Your Shit Award goes to Haas. Not only did you start 5th and 6th, you also finished the race in 17th and 19th. One of them didn't finish. Now, and after a safety car period, and you're 60-odd seconds behind, what the fuck's going on, Haas? Jesus. Ugh. Might as well bring fucking Nikita Mazepin back. Now, there's someone. Now, afterwards, we know when Nelson Piquet came out and he apologised, and he came out and everyone was standing with Lewis. Daniel Ricciardo, Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly, all of them were standing up, Charles Leclerc, standing up in support of Lewis Hamilton, in support of, the man that he is, and any of those languages. Racism isn't allowed. Racism, just no. There's only one man who stood in support of Nelson Piquet, was Nikita Mazepin. So there you go. True class. The third championship, now this is the championship which, if you're not in the top 10, if you're not scoring points, you're scoring negative points. And those negative points go towards your third championship. And if you manage to accumulate the most negative points over the weekend, over the year, over the entire calendar of the Formula 1 season of 2022, you will be crowned 2022 third champion. It's a team, if you can't win it, it's the trophy you want to take home. You need to take home. And it's expertly whittled by producer Pete, the man who's on the dials, who's making sure my levels are level, who makes sure I'm not talking too close to the microphone. Great job, Pete, as well, every week. Maybe not this week, it's a bit shit. But Pete has expertly whittled this magnificent bum nugget that he's put on a delicious slice of oak. It is huge, it is glittered, it is rolled, and it is pure and putrid. The negative 25 points go to Sergio Perez, negative 18 to Mick, negative 15 to Swery Sonoda, negative 12 to Magnussen, negative 12 to Latifi, Norris, Gasly, Albon, Vettel, Ricciardo. 8, 6, 4, 2, 1. Negative points to your third championship. And it's spicing up. Who wouldn't want to be part of this third championship? And it's the only third championship that's really worth it. What do you get? A fancy championship at number 1 on your card. Do you get a giant fucking turd that's made by, the one and only Producer Pete. No. The Junior Schumacher still out ahead. Latifi, he's in second. Great Wall has just been jumped by Kevin Magnussen, so congratulations, K-Mag. You're one step closer. You're on the third podium. Congratulations. The tips of the Grand Prix du Canada: Luke 12, Cliff 13, T 12, Pete 12, Jim 14, Pat on 15 points. Congratulations, gentlemen. A very, very good weekend for Pat and Jim. Cliff, not bad, ahead of me on that weekend. Solid job by you. I saw Pat switching up between quali and race, going with Zhou on one and then Bottas on the other. Fucking brilliant. Brilliant. Good job. He's out in the lead, 124 points. He's got a bit of daylight to me, 120. Jim, 119. Cliff, 115. T, 113. And Producer Pete, doing a fantastic job on the tips, Pete, 109. Dead last. Congratulations. The next Grand Prix is the Great British Grand Prix. It's 2022 Silverstone Circuit. Oh, fantastic. It's been around for a while, this track. It's 1950 was the first Grand Prix. It was in the first season of Formula One. It's a 5.891 kilometre track, 52 laps of the Silverstone track. 306.198 kilometres is your race distance, and a lap record set by Max Verstappen with a 1 minute 27.097 in 2020. It has 18 corners, 2 DRS zones. It's changed. It changed a while. I remember racing this track online and on the PlayStation, and I knew every single corner. Then they made these tiny little subtle changes. They'd moved the start-finish line, and I have no fucking idea what part of the track I'm on at the moment. So the tyres for this weekend's Grand Prix, it's a C1, C2, C3, and I know all the important information you guys want to know is the minimum starting pressures is 26.0 psi on the front and 23.0 psi on the rear. And it could be changed after free practice too. You don't know, but it could. So that's not set in stone. But what is set in stone? It's the camber limits, everyone. It's 2.75 degrees on the front and negative 1.50 degrees on the rear. Any more than that, and you'll be chucked out for cheating. As I said, the C1, C2, C3, the 3 hardest compounds of the Pirelli tyres. Rain. 19 to 10 degrees on the Friday. 18 top on Saturday, 9 degrees minimum. This is summer, people. This is summer. We have hotter days on the Gold Coast in winter than these guys do have in summer. That's pathetic. 9 degrees to 20 degrees on Sunday. So it's spitty wet, and solid wet on Sunday. So I'm looking forward to a wet Grand Prix. I think we all are. The previous winner was of the main race. It was a sprint race there last year. The main race was won by Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton got pole, was overtaken by Verstappen, and Verstappen won the sprint race. Then the main race, Hamilton, Leclerc, Bottas, that was the podium of the Silverstone race last year. Now, we all know what happened last year. Max was around the outside. Lewis thought he had a run on the inside. He thought that he was well ahead. He wasn't. Max got hit and taken out by Lewis. That's what happened. You can't change my mind. Max took him out. Lewis took him out. It wasn't deliberate. It was just two blokes going for the same bit of pavement. And, it's kind of the same shit. It wasn't as malicious as what Max Verstappen did in Monza. But it was like, I'm not going to give you an inch. I'm not going to give you an inch. And unfortunately, Max went into the wall at a very, very fast rate. So, and the beauty of it is, and the class that you'll see from a Lewis Hamilton is, not only does he takes his main opponent out of the race, and at no point is there some kind of humility or some kind of mildness to his celebrations. He wasn't kind of humble and went, you know what, it's not the way I want to win a race. It was unfortunate. You know, he He got a 10-second penalty. At no point did he go, yeah, it's kind of fair. I did make contact with him, and I did put him in the wall. He wasn't alongside him. He wasn't ahead of him. I'm sure there was a point where he was ahead, but then you have to brake and turn, and that's when you weren't ahead of him. And where you made contact with his car, it's also clear evidence that you weren't ahead of him. But he went into Skylark and dance and prance around, and I think it was a bit over the top for my liking. I think there's a lot of things that he does is a bit over the top for my liking, and from probably some of the people that listen to this too. He's a little bit over the top, but he won the race. He was super humble about it. He just sort of went, shook a couple hands, and no, he fucking crowd surfed. He did all that shit. Oh, I don't think he crowd surfed last year because he was afraid of COVID. But yeah, he was celebrating like a pork chop. Very, very, very ecstatically, not going, fucking, if it wasn't for taking Max out, I'd probably. But anyway, that was last year. This year should be a humdinger. Should be in the rain. Let's hope so. It should be a good race. And the race times for this weekend's British Grand Prix. If you are watching the British Grand Prix in Auckland, New Zealand, kia ora, bro. You are watching at 2 a.m. on Monday morning. Is it 2 a.m.? British Grand Prix, 2 a.m. for Auckland. Sydney, Nerang, Queensland, Victoria. What time are you watching British Grand Prix? It's midnight, July 4th. The next ones is Adelaide. That's right. The city of churches. It's 11:30. 11:30 for the British Grand Prix. Over to Perth, it is 10 p.m. for the Perthians. Kathmandu, if you are in Nepal and you are at base camp in Everest and you're expecting to do a bit of a summit push tomorrow, postpone it because the British Grand Prix is on. It's on at 7:45 Kathmandu time. Moscow. Now, Moscow, if you've got nothing better to do, if you're sick of invading a foreign country or your neighbour country, 5 p.m. is your race time. The next one is Kiev. Now, if you're not, if you've got nothing to do, if you're not occupied, bit of a double-edged sword. If you're not being occupied by Russia, and if you're not occupied by trying not to die, same time for you guys. 5 p.m. You'll be watching the British Grand Prix if you've got electricity. The next one is Copenhagen. You are watching the British Grand Prix at 4 p.m. British Grand Prix is on their home turf. It's 3 p.m. That is the local time for them. Also, if you're in New York, 10 a.m. Beautiful time to watch it. 7 a.m. if you're in LA. The Honolulu, if you are in the beautiful islands of Hawaii, you'll be watching at 4 a.m. on the Sunday morning. And that is the race times. I'm going to be sitting here. I'm going to be eating some bangers and mash. Going to have some scones and some tea, or some scones and tea, and maybe some crumpets. Enjoy the Silverstone Grand Prix. Enjoy the weekend, and I'll be talking to you next time.